Wait, your kids don't wake up to the drums?
I don't have kids here on Sundays.
Oh, I was gonna be like,
sometimes I don't have kids here on Sundays. So when I don't, I smash the drums. Or like 5 a.m. It's so crazy.
Being live streamed.
What's that mean?
I don't know. I'm like anybody can see us live.
Wow.
What is it being live streamed on? I saw that.
You saw that too? I'm thinking.
Is it on Facebook, Kevin?
Yeah, YouTube. I'm just trying it out.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. Although I'm not sure if it's still recording. Yeah, it is. It's still live streaming. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it says so.
Do you hear the echo?
No.
Yeah, I hear it because I'm streaming on the YouTube, so I can hear. Yeah, maybe I can turn it down or something. I hear everybody talking what we just talked about.
Do you have the volume on? Like, do you have your computer and your phone on? Is the volume on both?
No, I'm just on my phone.
Oh, weird.
I didn't think you could live stream until you had at least 1,000 subscribers. They changed it. I've only got like 600. That's funny.
Yeah, I thought it was 1,000 too. That's good to know.
I guess it's different when you go from Zoom now. Coffee with Cognizance.
I'm just trying to invite a few people.
Jess said she got on yesterday.
Yeah, but she wasn't talking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was quiet. A few people.
All right. Are you able to see my screen? Jess said she got on yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, but she wasn't talking.
Do you hear that? Oh, really?
Yeah, she was quiet. A few people.
All right. Are you able to see my screen? You don't see what's happening on my screen. Jess said she got on yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, but she wasn't talking.
Do you hear that? Really?
No, it keeps repeating.
A few people.
All right. Are you able to see my screen? You don't see what's happening on my screen. Jess said she got on yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, but she wasn't talking.
Do you hear that? Really?
What the fuck?
No, it keeps repeating.
Freaky.
A few people.
All right. Are you able to see my screen? You don't see what's happening on my screen. Jess said she got on yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, but she wasn't talking.
Do you hear that?
What the fuck?
No, it keeps repeating.
All right, we're gonna stop the screen share.
That's so weird.
I know.
Hey, oh, my friend Melanie hopped on.
Oh, hey, Melanie. There, what?
She's from Windsor too, like Tosh.
Melanie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. You? Glad to have you with us this
Oh, Melanie, can you put your email address in the chat thing, and
Sure.
Tosh can send you the articles.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, if anybody needs access to the article we'll be reading, drop your email in the chat and we'll get started. So thank you again for joining. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Cognizance, where the mission of GTC is to assure you admittance to the life of your dreams. We do this call every morning, 6 a.m. So come prompt, ready to read, and expand your awareness about your friends, about your family. Come grow together. In order to maintain a little order, as we read this article, we just pass it off and we raise our hands digitally so we know we're gonna pass off to you. If you're if you're driving or operating heavy machinery, do not raise your hand. But my hand is raised. I'm ready to read. The call is interactive, guys. So, read and advance your reading skills while you're at it. And as the purpose of GTC is to invite you to awaken to your purpose. So during this call, hopefully you awaken somewhat to your true purpose. And with that, let's see. Anybody else need the article? Melanie?
To Melanie, if she checks her inbox, she should have it. They might be a little out of order, but if she follows along, she'll get it.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I got the email.
The
Cool.
articles might be out of order.
And the articles are just one article though.
Not the way I have it saved in my phone.
It's weird. I made it into one article, but anywho, if you have any trouble, let us know. With that said, who wants to read?
I'll start.
We should,
Okay.
yeah, cool, our hands are all.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Serenity. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort and self-control. Its present is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. A man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought-evolved being, for such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as the result of thought. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, he ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve, and remains poised, steadfast, serene. The calm man, having learned how to govern himself, knows how to adapt himself to others, and they, in turn, reverence his spiritual strength and feel that they can learn of him and rely upon him. The more tranquil a man becomes, the greater is his success, his influence, his power for good. Even the ordinary trader will find his business prosperity increase as he develops a greater self-control and equanimity, for people will always prefer to deal with a man whose demeanor is strongly equable. The strong, calm man is always loved and revered. He is like a shade-giving tree in a thirsty land, or a sheltering rock in a storm. Who does not love a tranquil heart, a sweet-tempered, balanced life? It does not matter whether it rains or shines, or what changes come to those possessing these blessings, for they are always sweet, serene, and calm. That exquisite poise of character, which we call serenity, is the last lesson of culture. It is the flowering of life. The fruitage of the soul. It is precious as wisdom, more to be desired than gold. Yeah, than even fine gold. How significant mere money-seeking looks in comparison with a serene life, a life that dwells in the ocean of truth, beneath the waves, beyond the reach of tempest, and the eternal calm. How many people we know who sour their lives, who ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers, who destroy their poise of character and make bad blood. It is the question whether the great majority of people do not ruin their lives and mar their happiness by lack of self-control. How few people we meet in life who are well-balanced, who have that exquisite poise, which is characteristic of the finished character. Yes, humanity surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown away by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, make the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever ye may be, under whatsoever conditions ye may live, know this. In the ocean of life, the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits you coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought, and the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does not sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace, be still. So good. Okay, pass to Tasha.
Okay, and we're on the article of opulence.
Yes.
If we clearly realize that the creative power in ourselves is unlimited, then there is no reason for limiting the extent to which we may enjoy what we can create by means of it. There are drawing from the infinite we need never be afraid of taking more than our share. That is not where the danger lies. The danger is in not sufficiently realizing our own richness, and in looking upon the externalized products of our creative power as being the true riches instead of the creative power of spirit itself. If we avoid this error, there is no need to limit ourselves in taking what we will from the infinite storehouse. All things are yours. And the way to avoid this error is by realizing that the true wealth is in identifying ourselves with the spirit of opulence. We must be opulent in our thought. Do not think money as such, for it is only one means of opulence, but think opulence, that is, largely, generously, liberally, and you will find that means of realizing this thought will flow to you from all quarters, whether as money or as 100 other things not to be reckoned in cash. We must not make ourselves dependent on any particular form of wealth or insist on its coming to us through some particular channel. That is at once to impose a limitation and to shut out other forms of wealth and to close other channels. But we must enter into the spirit of it. Now the spirit is life, and throughout the universe, life ultimately consists in circulation, whether within the physical body of the individual or on the scale of the entire solar system. The circulation means a continual flowing ground. The spirit of opulence is no exception to this universal flow of all life. When once the principle becomes clear to us, we shall see that our attention should be directed rather to the giving than the receiving. We must look upon ourselves not as misers, chests to be kept locked for our own benefit, but as centers of distribution, and the better we fulfill our function as such centers, the greater will be the corresponding inflow. Oh. I pass to Jess.
Rules for being human. The following is written by an unknown author. However, it contains some timeless jewels of information that are worth passing on. It is titled Rules for Being Human. You will receive a body. You may like it or hate it, but it will be yours this time around. You will learn lessons. You are enrolled in a full-time informal school called life. Each day in this school, you will have the opportunity to learn lessons. You may like the lessons or think them irrelevant or even stupid. There are no mistakes, only lessons. Growth is a process of trial and error. Experimentation. The failed experiments are as much a part of the process as the experiment that ends up working. A lesson is repeated until learned. A lesson will be presented to you in various forms until you have learned it. When you have learned it, you can then go on to the next lesson. Learning lessons does not end. There is no part of life that does not contain lessons. If you are alive, there are lessons to be learned. There is no better place than here. There's no better time than now. I want to start singing Rage Against the Machine. When your there has become here, you will simply obtain another there that will again look better than here. I'm going to read that again. There is no better place than here. When your there has become here, you will simply obtain another there that will again look better than here. Others are merely mirrors of you. You cannot love or hate something about another person unless it reflects to you something you love or hate about yourself. What you make of life is up to you. You have all the tools and resources you need. What you do with them is up to you. The choice is yours. The answers lie inside of you. All you need to do is look, listen, and trust. There are no mistakes, only lessons. Start manifesting the life you want. I'm going to pass that to Kevin.
The way to create anything you desire is simply to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. The reason is that nothing exists outside of your own consciousness, and your entire experience of the world is a symbolic representation of where your consciousness currently stands. To change anything in your life, then, you have to change the beliefs and assumptions you hold about it. Furthermore, everything you experience is a result of your changing consciousness. So, Goddard teaches that changing your assumptions and assuming the presence of your desire is the only thing that will bring about your aim. Action is irrelevant, since action itself is a symbol of your state of mind. Your shift is consciousness is the only Your shift in consciousness is the only thing that matters. Finding the feeling of your desire. In order to assume the nature of your desire, you must simply pretend that you have already achieved your aim. Imagination creates your reality, and the more vividly you can imagine yourself into an experience, the more quickly you will be able to experience it in the physical world. The key here rests with your feeling. It is not enough to simply think through a desired scenario if in the back of your mind you do not believe it. You must have faith. You must access the way that you think you will feel once you attain your desire in order for the practice to have the desired impact. The importance of persistence. If you can imagine yourself into the desired state of being, then you have, for all intents and purposes, already achieved your aim. The physical manifestation of your goal is a secondary reaction, a reflection that you will experience, so long as you maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Where most people fail to apply the law of assumption successfully is because they do not maintain the feeling of their aim long enough for it to appear before them. They do not persist in it, but instead allow the physical world to convince them that it is not realistic or possible for them. Instead, you have the power to put yourself on a strict mental diet, only allowing your preferred experience of the world to influence the assumptions you hold about yourself, and using techniques like the power of revision to change any appearances that may seem to get in your way. Only when you can maintain the feeling, despite all physical evidence to the contrary, will you be able to manifest the aim that you have chosen for yourself.
There is no secondary cause.
What's that?
There is no secondary cause because I think of that. Back to the
Correct.
first principle, stop and be still and know that I am a goddess having the adventure of a lifetime. And anything that befalls me, I created.
Yes.
I'm the operant power of my reality. And it's funny when I hear when people, I didn't understand it and people don't get it and just revise it. It's just funny. I don't know. It's just a beautiful way to live and to know the truth that we create our reality. I just love it. And we create good and bad.
It definitely allows us an opportunity to step up and take responsibility.
Right?
Does Miss Melanie, do you want to read some of the article, responsibility?
Yeah, sure. The first one or the second one?
The first part right there where it says responsibility in the left.
Okay, it says Dr. Rollo May, a distinguished psychiatrist.
First page.
Oh, first page. Okay, let me see.
It'll say responsibility is a choice.
Responsibility is a choice. Oh, here it is. Okay. Responsibility is a choice, and it truly is the key to freedom. Your future can be everything you have ever dreamed about, and then some. You have the talent and tools to experience one beautiful day after another. That is, in fact, what the architect of the universe had in mind for you when you were created. If that was not so, you would have never been endowed with such awesome powers. Bob's good friend and mentor, Val Van de Waal, wrote, When a person takes responsibility for their life and the results they are obtaining, they will cease to blame others as a cause of their results. Since you cannot change other people, blame is inappropriate. Blaming others causes a person to remain bound in a prison of their own making. When you take responsibility, blame is eliminated and you are free to grow. Those who haven't taken responsibility for the results and their life often find themselves in a mental prison. And in many ways, a mental prison is a much worse place to live than a federal prison or penitentiary. Mental torment can destroy just about everything that is necessary for a meaningful life: self-image, self-respect, relationships, and a host of other attributes. It will even cause a person's physical health to deteriorate. Responsibility opens the door and permits you to walk into freedom. If you find yourself confined to a mental state, understand there is a way out. Escape is encouraged and possible. The master key that fits the lock is clearly marked and is within everyone's reach. It is responsibility. It would be a fair comment to say that the people we have the greatest respect for are those who have accepted responsibility for every aspect of their lives. These individuals rarely duck responsibility by blaming someone else. When faced with an unfavorable situation, they are usually aware they have attracted the negative circumstance and know, hang on a sec. Everything happens for a reason. When this happens, they merely learn their lesson and keep reaching out above and beyond the new frontier, taking responsibility for whatever happens every step of the way. When a person refuses to accept responsibility for their life, they reject their uniqueness and they turn all of their power over to other people, situations, or circumstances. They are no longer in control of their future. They will be hoping something good will happen, but because of past experiences, they will very likely be expecting something they do not want to happen. When you accept responsibility for your life and for the results which you alone determine, you will develop confidence that your dreams can be realized, that your plans can be carried out. Awareness of this magnificent truth is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, thing that can happen in your life. It is Aladdin's lamp, a magic wand, the tooth fairy, all wrapped in one. Anybody else want to read?
You can pass it off to whoever you like.
Okay, I pass it off to Jess.
Thanks for reading. Oh, that brought me back to high school. Hearing you reading. That's so funny. Okay. Where the quack are we? I heard I
Dr.
out of my articles in order. Okay, wrapped up in one. Okay. Dr. Rollo May, a distinguished psychiatrist, once wrote, "The opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice, it is conformity. It requires great courage to take responsibility for your life. It's so much easier to blame someone else or something outside of you." George Bernard Shaw said, people are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. Shaw was right. Those who win big in life take responsibility and create their own destiny. Earlier on, it was suggested that responsibility brings with it a certain amount of freedom. For some, these last few paragraphs may be life-altering. With a proper understanding, it has the power to free you of unnecessary mental weight that you may have been carrying around with you all of your life, guaranteed. This concept has been misunderstood by so many and has probably single-handedly ruined more lives than one can possibly imagine. Ignorance of this principle, though most person represents the destructive emotions. So the destructive emotions of anger, guilt, and resentment, but anger is something that can be used to manifest greatness, but it can be used to destroy things too. Somebody's unmuted and oh, it's Kevin. here it is. There's a vast difference between being responsible for and being responsible to. It seems so simple, but don't let its apparent simplicity fool you. There is a big difference between being responsible for and being responsible to. It's not uncommon to hear parents blame themselves and assume responsibility for something that has happened to their child. And that child might be 40 years old. If only we, or I should have. I'm going to pass to Lindsay. I saw your hand go up. If you're not ready, I'll pass to Tosh.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I was talking. I forgot I was muted. I can't find where you stopped at.
So far too often, we inappropriately assume. So it's like page 2 continued, top right paragraph.
Oh, there we go. Far too often, we inappropriately assume responsibility for something when in fact, our real duty to the person may have ended 20 years ago. Unfortunately for most, they carry that baggage around with them for life, never realizing they have a choice. The correct interpretation of this is you are responsible for your feelings and your results, not another person's. You may be responsible to another person for one thing or another, but not for another person. The exception, of course, is when you choose to take on the responsibility of raising children until they reach the age of maturity. In that case, you are both responsible to and for them, until such time as they become responsible for themselves. At times, it may even be appealing to contemplate having another person take on our responsibilities for us. We could even trick ourselves into believing that by doing this, we would be more free to play, have fun, and do the things we wanted. Without serious thought, it might never enter our mind that exactly the opposite would happen. When you permit others to take on your responsibilities, you become dependent on them. They become the giver and you become the receiver. Your well-being is dependent upon their generosity. Hopefully, at some point, it will become very clear that this kind of behavior only leads to a life of lack, limitation, resentment, and confusion on the parts of both the giver and the receiver. Nothing positive comes from the misuse of responsibility. When you take on the responsibility for another person's feelings, results, or actions, you destroy their self-reliance and self-respect. You are responsible for all of the results in your life. You are responsible for your happiness. You are responsible for your health. You are responsible for your wealth. You are responsible for your emotional state. Regardless of what has happened in the past, the future lies ahead with an open slate, waiting for you to take control and create a wonderful life for yourself. Winston Churchill, who certainly knew something about responsibility, said, "Responsibility is the price of greatness." Here's a marvelous affirmation that you can verbalize every night before you go to sleep and every morning as you step out of bed. I am responsible for my life, for my feelings, for my personal growth, and for every result I get. The end.
Wow.
That part right there where it's like, where you're reading, when you permit others to take on your responsibility, you become dependent on them. They become the giver and become the receiver. Your well-being is dependent upon their generosity. Fucking codependency. And that's a toughie. That's toughie. For people to overcome, they hit that wall and then they run back to comfort and then they just stay stuck in that loop.
What do you think that is?
Great question, Kevin. It seems easier to them, probably.
They're comfortable.
Well,
that's what's programmed into their head.
That's why lessons are important. Sorry, Tosh, I'll shut up.
That's right. That's why even though they don't want to be there, they're feeling like they're stuck or they're feeling like, they're not treated right or whatever, but they're still always going to go back to it because that's what's their talk is inside.
And it's interesting, Tosh, though, like
they
when
feel that they don't deserve anything better.
I don't get, yeah. So,
or that person can finally say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I did all of those things and I will be there for you," and give one little morsel of change or inkling of change. And you're holding on to that very little morsel and then everything hits the fan again.
So what if you have a paradigm where you think that you have no support and you're on your own doing everything by yourself, and then you start going off on a tangent of like what all those other people are doing and then blaming and then getting stuck when they're starting to level up and then going to what they think they only have available.
So
it's like
from my own,
it's just interesting because I've done it myself. And then that brings me to the question of like, why are people doing what they're doing? Why are you doing what you're doing? What is your purpose? And are you taking responsibility? Are you really clear on what's going on? What's going on here? And why are you going there when that's not where you are? And like they just hit the wall and like, how do you not go there anymore? When you have
remember conversation yesterday about 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
How about change that paradigm though? I don't want that narrative in my script. Like I don't want that. I wouldn't want that. I don't want to assume that's going to happen anymore for me or for others. Because if I'm imagining that, that's the reality I bring forth. That's what I'll
assuming anything. I'm just explaining to you how the mind works.
But the mind can change, right?
It can. But if you have been so, wrapped up in that kind of relationship, or you've been starved of some sort of emotion or regular feeling, growing up, they're going to think that that's the be all end all. And that's the only thing they're going to get.
That's sad.
It's conditioning. It really is. It's conditioning that we learned as children, whether it be right or wrong. And the fact is like people feel like they feel like, they don't have anybody around them because it's new to them. It's not comfortable. We're new people.
Right. Risk taking.
Exactly.
What do people, right? What are people thinking? What are people saying? They think I'm crazy. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, what scheme am I part of? Like, and then it reminds me of my life and what I slammed the door on. And then why I see frustration in myself when I see it in others, because it reminds me of who I used to be. And that doesn't have to be like that. But you can't shove it down their throat. When we read this article last time, I talked about this too. And it's still showing up. So it's like, what is it telling me about me? So I got to think about that, like reflect on it. It's interesting. If it shows up in clients, something to ponder. That's all.
You know what I think? I think that people are just like Tasha said, they're subject to their paradigms and they will keep repeating it until the time that they become aware. And then they decide to do something about it. And the doing something about it is to imagine differently for yourself. And for some people, that practice of going into their imagination and visualizing is not common, so they'll just become very distracted by what is around them. They'll pick up their phone again, they'll pick up a book again, they'll see the TV, they'll hear their mom, what they say, and they'll become distracted. They'll forget about this whole imagination world that they live in. But one of the things that I like to do is like to write out, and like Jess was talking about scripting. Like, if that's not the script I want in my life, well, what does the script sound like? Every good screenwriter has written the script for the movie. It's always written down first. You would never just go wing it like, well, hey, how do you imagine your character would act? No, there's a specific type of character you're playing when you come on a set, and the screenwriter's giving you the script. And it doesn't change unless you're in a comedy and they're giving you some liberties. But the script is the script. So until you get that script down, you don't take liberties at all. Like, get down the foundation of what I'm trying to get across here, the feeling, like the character. And if you say so instead of then or something like that, they're not going to correct you maybe, but you've got to get the feeling of what your character is. And if you don't write it down, you don't take the time to do that. Most people don't allow themselves that flow state you get into when you write. If you guys have seen the movie Soul, they talk about this flow state you get into when you're doing what you love. And when you're writing, you're allowing what you love in the future, let's say still, to flow through you right then, and you feel it real then as you're writing it. That's some of the powers of writing it. And if you can do that until it becomes real, in your imagination, and the writing actually definitely helps. I found.
I don't, for me, I don't need to write anymore though. I just like, I'm laying in bed and I just I use my imagination, then I feel it real. It feels yummy and it's quick. I train my brain though. Yeah, I worked on it for years. But like I used to script, but then like now I feel like I want to share my story and somebody writes it out with a typewriter. Or I want to like, I don't know, like someone else write my script, but I give the ideas. Or I don't know.
So I hear you acknowledging that script writing is important. You just don't want to do it yourself.
There's different ways I want to explore it now is what I meant. I have written scripts though. I agree with you, Kevin. In high school, I did a lot of that.
But
and
if
then
you're saying that 1 year ago or last time we read this article, you're having the same things come up, well, why don't you try writing it, see if that happens next time we read it?
Or just take action.
Well, writing is an action. Don't downplay writing.
Doing what I wrote about for years.
My advice would be to not downplay the writing process. It never ends. Bob writes left-handed now, just for shits and giggles.
Sometimes when people show up, it's a reminder of what you let die, and it's okay to exit. You may revisit later, and you may not. It's not my business, and it doesn't matter. That's my realization of what certain things showing up. I'm not wanting it in my life anymore. So I'm gonna slam the door on it. Because I'm rising above and I'm persistent and my wish fulfilled. So it's just kind of like I get a little upset about it because I care about people and I grew up being a caretaker and feeling like I'm responsible for people. Because if I don't take care of them, something will happen. Because my mom almost died when I was little, and my grandpa. So it goes back, but I like became aware of it and shifted it, and I still shift it.
Well, shifting would be letting it die and not bringing it up and not going back to that.
It's how you address it and what meaning are you attaching to it when it presents in your life again. That's the key. And then shifting, catching it quickly.
Anybody else have any thoughts during the article? Melanie, what'd you think, girl?
I thought it was a pretty good article. I think like basically the 90s, like it's like the Pacific Ocean. I think the 90s we were cut off to like half the Pacific Ocean, and nowadays I think we're more open. We're more able to see like different things, and now we're able to see like what dangers can happen and responsibility like raising my children. Yeah, sure, I can pass it to his dad, but I'd rather just take full responsibility and take care of my kids.
Oh, that's like that could be a jab at myself, but I don't take it personally anymore. I recognize strength in what you just said for myself. I agree. The one ocean. So that reminds me of Mel.
Interesting, Mel.
I like that.
Thanks.
You guys are talking about responsibility and the same thing coming up, and like it hasn't changed. It talks about it up in the other article, the one about being human. It talks about lessons, that we're all here to learn lessons, and if we don't learn the lesson is going to continue coming back up. I was thinking about that the other day when I was reading it. Like, oh my gosh, how true. Like some different things that I struggle with or whatever. It's like, oh, well, it's because I just haven't learned that lesson. So now I need to take responsibility and learn that lesson. And then I can move on and be taught another lesson. But I just think it's interesting how the responsibility goes back up to the whole only being human. And I mean, it all goes together.
It's so important just to really, truly understand that. Because like my kid was complaining because he had wrestling. And then he found out he had wrestling like the next day on like a school day off. He still had to go to wrestling, and he starts like crying. I was like, well, the only reason you don't like it is because you haven't practiced it well enough. Once you practice it, you get good at it, you'll be like wanting to go do it. And I just thought of it how like we have these lessons to learn. You're like, I just don't want to learn that lesson right now because it feels like it's going to be painful. But once you do it, it's pain is weakness leaving the body. And so you actually do want to do it. You want to have that sense of accomplishment. You want that because it's part of your goals, like practicing and training so you can win the competition or whatever it is you're doing. Like you do want it, but people put off doing the hard thing because it's like uncomfortable. Like, for Jess, writing might be uncomfortable, or she might say that, she doesn't think she needs it anymore yet. She still struggles with the same thing. That's fine. The lesson will keep coming. But at some point, you're going to say, okay, that's my lesson. Let me
It's
learn
a
it so I
big
can stop
lesson.
learning it. Because you're going to
Made me
keep having,
cry.
it's going to keep coming up and saying, learn me, learn me, learn me, learn me. And it's never going to be easy. I think people say, well, one day it'll be easier and I'll do it when it's easier. Well, it becomes easier as you do it. So you got to start doing it at some point. Just start. That's the problem most people don't do. They don't start.
The hardest part's getting on the mat.
What'd you say?
The hardest part, sorry, I was crying because what Mel said made me think it's been 1 year. 1 year ago yesterday, Jordan was kidnapped from me. And all the choices I've made and sacrifices and risks I've taken. And I don't know. I don't agree with people sacrificing their dreams because they have children and they think they have to assume full responsibility. It takes a tribe to raise a family. And you're selling yourself short. But my whole life I cared what people thought. And then I gave up a lot for a long time, but I'm not anymore. But it hits home. It's just a huge reflection and a huge fucking giant quantum leap. And most don't get it. Even my children. I get backlash everywhere about what I'm doing. It's just, I don't know. I'm like, why do I do what I do? What's the purpose? What's the point? Am I being responsible? People around me think I'm not being responsible. It's all like perspective, I guess. And yeah, I don't know. Wow.
Yeah.
Just wow.
It's all about what you want. If you believe in it enough and you believe in
Are
the
we the
outcome.
crazies? Are we the crazies? Are we the zombies? Or are we the ones asleep? Are we like drinking Kool-Aid?
If you want to title it,
Like
you can put a title on anything.
and just I
Kool-Aid
reflect on the
drinkers.
things we share on here and the things people say and then I'm like, and then I started briefly second guessing. It's like, yeah.
Remember, it's your life, though. It's your movie. Everybody else is just a extra.
Yeah, and it's whatever I want to add meaning to, whatever I want it to mean. And if I put emotion into it, then I give it power, and that's what I'll get more of. So I had to revise that reaction and
Maybe a
not be
mental
triggered.
diet center.
Not be triggered by that anymore because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter because it's not the evidence. That doesn't mean anything. But it's like sometimes slipping back, like Tosh says. So I want to cut off that paradigm. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Bullshit. Goes back to that, Tosh. That brings about all of it. What we talked about yesterday.
I honestly though, like I get it. Yeah, it is a paradigm, but I feel like that's naturally like just how it goes, like you learn a new skill, you get comfortable in that skill, and then you're like, oh wait, am I sure? Do I know that skill? Like, am I confident in my ability? And then you just kind of like stall for a second and then you just keep on going. And I feel like that's kind of like the natural recourse of just life and experiences and learning. I don't feel like that's yes, it's a paradigm, but no, it's not.
It's a good paradigm.
Like,
Useful
I just
paradigm.
feel like that's the natural recourse of things.
Do you think it's useful then, basically? Yes. Okay, thank you. That's helpful, man.
It's not something to say, oh, I was defeated because I took a step back even though I was going forward. No, it's natural. I feel like
being a mouse. I feel like you're being a little mouse and you crouch down and you're grounding yourself and then you take the leap and then you soar. And it's just part of it, but just accepting it.
And I mean, people do have more of a resistance where like, they're like, oh, I'm at the top of where I want to be. I'm about to change. And then they go right back down.
Yeah.
That would be considered a paradigm.
That's like regression. I
But
want to
you
fear
know,
that.
in the way that we're doing it, we're not getting off of the bike. We're still on it. We might just take a little breather before we go over that mountain, but we're ready.
Yeah.
So don't take it like in that context, because it is all how you understand it and all perspective of it.
Yeah.
That is true. Perspective is everything.
Right. And just because you're like, I get what you're doing, would I make that decision for me? No, but not everybody is the same, and not everybody has the same purpose.
That's true.
So it doesn't matter, like, yes, I get it. You're like, because you feel a little.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's
Like,
how you felt with what your
Sure.
friend here. Yes, because you were upset. I just mean not everybody has the same purpose.
but what do you mean? What's underneath that? What are you implying about that?
Not implying anything. You have to stop looking so deep into it.
No, it's good to dive deep. I'm curious what you
No,
mean.
listen
I don't know
to
what
what
you mean.
don't dive deep. Just take it for what it is.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means. What you're saying.
It's not a dig. It's not to say, oh, because I want to be my kids and I want to raise my kids and I'm not going to relinquish any of those rights to their dad because I want to do it all myself. That's not a dig.
Okay. That's exact. Okay. So I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was thinking. My cognizance, cognizance, my awareness. So I don't want to be ignorant or jab at you either, because I have my son's almost 12. I raised him for 11 years on my own. His dad was gone on drugs and homeless and could have died. And Lily, I raised her for 8 years. And I never gave up rights to either of my kids. We have joint custody, and we have always been flexible and open with our arrangement. And Jordan was kidnapped from me a year ago. I'm fighting for as much as I can get. I want her every day. It's not and right now what I'm doing is building an empire. My goal is to have all my family together, and I want peace, and I want everyone to get along, and no bullshit. But I never gave up my rights of my children. This is just temporary. It's for right now, and it's all perspective, and it's all what people assume through their own lens. But I'm not jabbing at anyone, and I don't take it as a jab because I know the truth.
But you also don't have to feel that you have to justify your story.
No, but I'm explaining that because I think you'll get golden nuggets from it for yourself.
I don't need the golden nuggets. I feel like you're justifying it so that way you don't get judged, because
no, I do it to teach. I do it to teach people, not to be. I don't need to explain myself. I do it because I think it blesses people for a reason. That's what I assume, as with the law of assumption. What I'm saying, if you're listening to it, there's gold in it. I promise you. It's all perspective, and it's all how you perceive things with your attitude.
In that situation, I've come out of that situation. I don't need to get nuggets out of that situation. I was just trying to explain to you that just because somebody has a different purpose doesn't mean that they're judging you, and it's okay to have a different purpose.
Absolutely.
I just think of one big ocean, like going along with what Mel was saying. We're all one ocean.
Everything will be fine. Everything will work out. All you have to do is keep the faith.
I just wish people would wake up more. That's all. It's a lonely world, the 1%.
Others are only mirrors of you. So do you wish for yourself to wake up more? Is that what you're saying?
No.
It's part of my
one of my
or you need to stop recognizing in them that they're sleeping, because it really is recognizing in you that you're sleeping.
No. When you're in the state of
No, that's true. Others are only a reflection of you. They're only mirrors of you. They only show you something in you that you love or hate about yourself. That's what these articles say. It's not my opinion. I wouldn't know any of this shit if I didn't learn it. So, I mean, it intuitively sounds right, though. Yeah. I mean, anybody else have any experiences with that where you're basically seeing people show up as mirrors of you, and it's becoming more and more obvious?
It looks like we're alone now, except for Lindsay.
I think we're alone now.
Yeah. I didn't offend anybody. I was just
I
going
know
with
people take offense. You can't offend people anyways. People take offense. I don't think she was offended, but she just doesn't like to learn. It seems like I don't know.
love her to pieces. I'll have to talk with her later. Okay, everybody have a good day. I'm off.
See you,
All
Tash.
right. Bye.
Have a great day. See you, Lindsay.
Bye.